Hello, good morning, welcome along to Ireland AM. It is it's on Virgin Media 1, it is Monday, the 11th of September. I've had a long weekend.
Long weekend, flying all over the place.
The rugby was good.
French, the rugby had a good all time. We'll be chatting about that in just a little while because from sports stars to skincare secrets, we have got a great show lined up for you today.
We sure do. We're going to be looking ahead to tonight's episode of Confessions of a Crime Boss with one of the key members of the late Veronica Guerin's inner circle.
And we're going to be asking, is it a good idea to be friends with your work colleagues? Ew,
oh,
gross.
Really?
And what are the potential pitfalls? We'll be chatting about that in just a little while.
0896 111 111. Let us know what you think of it. Are you encouraged to do socials together? And you're kind of like,
no thanks.
Nah. Plus, later on the show, rugby royalty Peter Stringer is going to be in studio to chat, of course, the Rugby World Cup and his plans to get the country in shape.
He is a monster when it comes to fitness.
Insane.
Like, it's unbelievable how fit that man is.
He was like that fit when he played.
And here we go. He's already starting this morning. We're joined by Shiva today. What else have we got in the way, Shiva?
Morning, Shiva.
Morning, guys. Hello. Speaking of monsters of fitness, thanks. We've got plenty more coming up, and we're serving a sweet autumnal treat in the kitchen. Goss.ie's Ali Ryan is keeping us up to date with some exclusive showbiz scoops, and we've got skincare to give your face that extra bit of flair.
Do you know what? You've just thrown yourself in the mix. Peter Stringer, we're going to get him to put you through your paces for that one.
Can't wait.
I've got runners ready to go. We'll be grand.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
If it's not hot enough in here today.
I know.
OK, now it is time to get the news this morning over in the Virgin Media News Hub. Here's Geraldine Lynagh.
Thanks, Tommy. Good morning. Rescue teams are in a race against time to find more survivors after this weekend's earthquake in Morocco. Over 2,100 people have so far been confirmed dead, but that figure is expected to rise.
It's a race against time to get to all of the remote villages and towns damaged by Friday night's earthquake. The epicentre of the 6.8 magnitude quake was in the Atlas Mountain region, about 70 kilometres south of Marrakesh. Many houses and buildings in hard-to-reach villages are now in a collapsed state. The emergency efforts have been hampered by the steep terrain, with communities cut off by damaged phone networks and electricity services. There's significant damage seen too in the city of Marrakesh. The first of the funerals of those who died have been taking place. It's feared the number killed could increase in the coming days. Hundreds of people are being treated in hospital, many of whom are in a critical condition. The earthquake was the biggest to hit the North African country in 120 years and has sent people fleeing their homes, many still afraid to return to unstable and weakened buildings. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
A man in his 60s who was injured in an assault in Westport in County Mayo at the weekend has died. Peter McDermott passed away at Mayo University Hospital, where he was being treated for injuries he sustained in an assault on High Street in Westport in the early hours of Saturday morning. A man in his 20s who was arrested as part of the investigation has been released without charge. A file is being prepared for the DPP. A man is due before Tallaght District Court this morning, charged in connection with a fatal road accident on Friday in which a woman in her 80s died. The collision between a car and a pedestrian happened at the junction of Fortunestown Way and Cheeverstown Road in Tallaght on Friday morning. A man was later arrested in connection with the investigation and has now been charged. 2 people have been arrested following a major drug seizure in Dublin. Cannabis herb with an estimated street value of €500,000 was seized by Gardaí during the search of a house in the north inner city. A man in his 40s and a woman in her 30s are being questioned at Garda stations in Dublin in connection with the find. Gardaí are continuing to investigate the cause of a house fire in County Cavan in the early hours of yesterday morning, in which a mother and son died. The woman in her 80s and the man in his 50s were pronounced dead at the scene of the fire in Ballyjamesduff. Postmortems are due to be carried out on their remains at Cavan General Hospital. A full technical examination of the scene of the fire is being carried out. Spanish Soccer Federation President Luis Rubiales has resigned from his post after a kiss scandal which tarnished Spain's victory in the Women's World Cup. Rubiales had faced repeated calls to step down after the player involved, Jenny Hermoso, had said the kiss was not consensual. She filed a legal complaint last Tuesday. Last night, Rubiales confirmed his resignation, saying it was clear he could not continue in his work. Part 2 of a 3-part documentary about crime boss John Gilgan airs tonight on Virgin Media. In a series of in-depth interviews, Gilgan lifts the lid on his life of crime and the role his gang played in the murder of journalist Veronica Guerin in the 1990s.
Did Brian mean pull the trigger? No, I don't know who shot him, right? But no, not that I know of. I don't believe he would have. I don't believe for half a second he would have. I hate men, but I don't believe he done that.
And Confessions of a Crime Boss airs on Virgin Media 1 tonight at 10 o'clock. The IFA says it plans to protest at Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael party think-ins in Tipperary and Limerick this week. The farmers' organisation says the move is to highlight what they say is their frustration in relation to the cut in the nitrates limit and plans to delay payments to farmers in 2023. The IFA president Tim Cullinan says the government is out of touch with farmers and rural Ireland. Finally, for now, a Florida man is in police custody after he tried to cross the Atlantic Ocean in a giant hamster wheel. The Coast Guard rescued the man about 70 miles off the Georgia coast after a 3-day standoff. Authorities say the man had been trying to travel from Florida to London and had claimed he had a bomb on board. The man now faces a number of federal charges.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
This morning there'll be a band of patchy rain pushing southeastwards over Leinster. There'll be some drier spells for Ulster as the patchy rain clears, but cloudy with patchy rain and scattered showers returning from late morning. It will be a wet start this afternoon with widespread rain and heavier falls developing over Munster and Leinster. The bulk of the rain will start to clear eastwards through the afternoon with widely drier conditions developing over Ulster and Connacht. Maximum temperatures this afternoon 16 to 19 degrees. And a largely wet night ahead tonight with rain over much of Munster and Leinster, turning drier over Connacht and Ulster with a mostly cloudy sky initially, but clearer skies will develop around midnight. Lows tonight of 8 to 11 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We'll start with the Irish Times. Its headline, Financial Misconduct Sanctions Face Growing Pushback. The central bank is facing pushback from lawyers and company directors against sweeping powers to impose new sanctions against individuals for misconduct in the financial sector.
Postcode lottery as thousands are refused mental health care. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. More than half of the children and teenagers referred to their local child and adolescents mental health services are refused access in some parts of the country. Analysis of new data shows the number of children not accepted by the service varies dramatically depending on where they live.
The Examiner leads with 850 vacant TUSLA posts as services feel pressure. The service says the war in Ukraine and other complex issues have led to a 13% surge in referrals to the agency. TUSLA interim CEO Kate Duggan has said the agency was at crisis point due to the increase in demand for services.
Tragedy as mother and son perish in fire at their home is the top story on the Daily Mail. The tight-knit community of Ballyjamesduff, County Cavan, has been met with total shock as Kathleen Lynch and her son Michael Lynch passed away in an early morning house blaze before 2 a.m. on Sunday morning.
The Mirror goes with Rome couple killed by cocaine driver. The driver of the car that killed 2 Irish tourists in Rome was found to have had cocaine in his system. The couple were named as Mary and Paul O'Reilly from the Kilmore area of County Wexford.
The Star leads with one-punch attack tragedy. Peter McDermott has died following an alleged one punch in Westport in the early hours of Saturday morning.
The Sun leads with Bailey heart attack scare. Ian Bailey is fighting for his life after suffering 2 heart attacks in a week. The former person of interest in the 1996 Sophie Toscan du Plantier killing is being treated at Cork University Hospital.
And finally, the Herald goes with death penalty for Kinahans. A British drug baron arrested in Spain before he could pay back a €20 million debt to the Kinahan cartel has been jailed for 18 years in the UK.
Now, coming up, we've got an update on the latest sporting stories from the weekend, including last night's Dutch defeat in the European qualifiers and, of course, the opening weekend of the Rugby World Cup.
Yes, we will see you after this short break.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
This morning there'll be a band of patchy rain pushing southeastwards over Leinster. There'll be some drier spells for Ulster as the patchy rain clears, but cloudy with patchy rain and scattered showers returning from late morning. It will be a wet start this afternoon with widespread rain and heavier falls developing over Munster and Leinster. The bulk of the rain will start to clear eastwards through the afternoon with widely drier conditions developing over Ulster and Connacht. Maximum temperatures this afternoon 16 to 19 degrees. And a largely wet night ahead tonight with rain over much of Munster and Leinster, turning drier over Connacht and Ulster with a mostly cloudy sky initially, but clearer skies will develop around midnight. Lows tonight of 8 to 11 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
Welcome back. Now, new data has shown the number of children not accepted by mental health services varies dramatically depending on location.
Now, join us with that story and all other stories this morning is Adam Higgins from the Irish Sun. Good morning.
Morning, Adam.
Thank you very much. So it's at the front of one or two of the papers this morning about this CAMHS refusal rate. So it's gone up 10% in 3 years.
It has, yes. So at the moment, 40% of children that are referred from their GP to CAMHS are being turned away. So
40%.
The HSE
are being turned away.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So the HSE say that CAMHS is for children with severe or moderate issues. But I mean, I'm trying telling that to a parent who's brought their child to a GP, and the GP has says, yeah, this child needs to go to CAMHS, and then they're being turned away. And the worrying thing about it is it seems to be increasing. So, for example, in 2020, this was at 30%. And when the HSE are commenting on this report in today's Indo, they say that it should be at 30%. That's where their kind of aim is, which is still not great. But it's gone to 40% last year, and it's up to 41% so far this year. And it seems to be changing depending on where you live.
Okay.
As well.
So this is the postcode lottery effect.
Yeah.
We had this back in July. Dr. Susan Finnerty released her report into CAMHS with 49 recommendations. And the postcode lottery was the thing that was highlighted so much that if you're in a place like Kerry and Cork, good luck to you. You're not going to get your kid any help.
Exactly, and Cork and Kerry seem to be among the worst here. So there's a number quoted in the article today that of the 2,700 children in Cork and Kerry who have been referred by their GP to CAMHS so far this year, more than half of those have been turned away. And it's the same sort of number across the likes of Tipperary, Carlow, Kilkenny, Wexford and Waterford. So really worrying stuff for parents in those places. But I think it's important as well when we're talking about these things to highlight that there are other places you can go if you're turned away from your GP, the likes of Jigsaw. Spunout.ie has a lot of great resources on there that you can go and it'll tell you where to go. The Smartins are another one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is good to know that there are other options out there, but it is still quite frightening that there's over 1,000 children on a waiting list with severe or moderate mental health issues in the likes of Cork and Kerry, but then in the South Tipperary, Carlow, Kilkenny, Waterford, Wexford have the highest refusal rate this year with more than 51%.
And I think
they've been turned down. Like turning up, your child is in a terrible situation, which as a parent must be just heartbreaking.
Exactly.
And then we're told we can't do anything for you.
And there's one parent actually quoted in the article today, Claire, who has a 10-year-old daughter with severe anxiety issues and anger issues. And she took the daughter to the GP. The GP referred her on to CAMHS, and they received a letter a few weeks later, this kind of general letter saying that she's not suitable for CAMHS. And I think the mum makes a great point in that if her child hasn't seen a psychologist yet, how can the HSE know that the condition isn't moderate to severe?
Yeah, and we were speaking to a woman here back in July when Dr. Finnerty's report was released and her child, he hits his head off the wall and he was told, no, he's not bad enough. It's terrifying. It's obviously a huge blight on Ireland. Population is indeed increasing. There's more children in the system. It's truly awful, and we know that there's an awful lot of people who watch the show that they're trying to get their children into CAMHS, and it doesn't look good today. 0896 111 111 to get in contact.
And it leads on to this next story, of course, with, the 850 posts vacant in Tuzla.
Yeah, this is something I think it does lead on from that, you're right, and it's a lot of social care workers and even like positions that you would think are really critical, like domestic violence liaison officers, people like that, they just can't seem to find the staff. And it's something I think we're seeing across all sectors at the moment. We ran a piece in the Irish Sun recently where a bunch of trade unions across 10 key sectors had told us that Ireland is missing about 100,000 workers. So this is the likes of construction and hospitality. It doesn't even consider the social care worker scene, where you're looking at 850 vacancies, all in a really critical service. I mean,
and we're at maximum employment.
Exactly, yeah, 100%. And this is a sort of a service where the number of children in the country is increasing. So they had something like 83,000 referrals last year.
83,000 to Tusla and 850 people not there.
And they're working under this kind of severe situation where only a couple of years ago they had the HSE hack, which brought them right back to pen and paper. So it's a really difficult time in Tusla the past few years, and they're being hit again now with these staff shortages.
They're highlighting here that they're in a similar situation to an awful lot of other European countries where they cannot recruit staff. And we know that from CAMS as well. They cannot. There's someone in Dubai who does Zoom consultations with kids in Kerry and Cork because they can't get someone into the service.
And I think that, and even when you look at nursing as well, is one of those professions where all across the world there seems to be shortages, and you see our nurses leaving to go to places like Australia and Dubai where they can make great money. And I think as a society we need to do with the likes of social care workers, nurses, those sort of professions, look at how we value them.
And listen, when we're seeing record points to get into university courses and stuff as well, and some of the courses that people are going into, you kind of wonder, well, where is that going to lead to? And, you know, when we are crying out for people in certain areas and, you know, the likes of consultants in terms of mental health, whatever else, maybe that's the way we should be trying to dedicate our resources. Again, yes, let us know, 0896 111 111, 850 posts still available for that.
Now, the USC, something that was brought in 1 year and we all went, oh, isn't this lovely? Can we get rid of it yet, no?
Yeah, the temporary tax that has lasted more than 10 years now. So it doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon, but there is some budget talk in the papers today that the Minister McGrath, the Finance Minister, is looking at reducing the gap or reducing the rate for those on middle income. So you're talking about people 23,000 to 70,000 a year. That sort of wage thing. And they're looking at 4.5% is the rate now, dropping it to 4%, which would be worth about €235 a year to you. So kind of tinkering the bands a little bit to give you some more cash back. That's what they're looking at here.
Okay. Do you think, because I was listening to something about this at the weekend, saying that like when inflation is at the height that it is at the minute, and it doesn't seem to really drop to the way that they want it to then to be putting more money into people's pockets. Like, there are a lot of people who are really, it's very difficult out there for so many people at the minute, but if we're going to get inflation under control, the government, it's a tricky balance for them at the moment.
It is, and it's one of these things that I think, you know, an economist really could help explain, but it's one of these things that kind of confuses me a bit when they say that, like, okay, we need to take some more money out of the economy, so the European Central Bank is increasing mortgage interest rates so that we could try to tackle inflation, but at the same time you see governments across the country, across the world, putting
money in.
Massive tax cuts. I mean, we already know that there's €1 billion tax cut package going to be in this. So people will get more money out of their budget this time around, and you're going to see the likes of pensions increases, social welfare increases. So they're putting money in on one side, taking it out on the other, and all to do with inflation.
Even though almost every one of the advisory bodies that the government appoint have said, please do not do tax cuts, we can't handle this. But at the same time, there was a report last week that said that across the board we need an average of 14% wage increase for people to live like inflation isn't like destroying their discretionary income, how they can afford bills. Like, it's a huge issue.
It is, yeah, and we're in budget kite flying season now, so I think for the next few weeks you're going to see all sorts of numbers and goodies thrown away, because it does look like there's a lot of money, and I think the government does want to give some of that money back to people, which I think would be welcome, because as you mentioned, it is still the cost of living crisis, even with all this money floating around.
Absolutely. Let us know, like, would you like to see a cut in the USC charges? But then whenever you're seeing Tusla and all these other teachers and stuff, we can't afford to pay them. So, you know, if you drop away the taxes, then they're going to be saying, well, we can't afford these people as well.
We've got billions in the bank as well, though. You know, we're always wondering what we're going to spend that money on.
Rainy day, and we're in
rainy day fund.
111 111. Now, this is an interesting one. So, haters, it's time to leave Ariel and Elsa alone.
Yeah,
tell us more.
Okay, sorry. It said in the top, much hated Disney princesses. Do people hate Disney princesses?
I don't think so, do they?
No, not at all. I think it's kind of, a lot has been made in the past about how Disney princesses are drawn and their body image and how that might affect
the massive
young
eyes,
children. And so what this report from California is looking at, saying that it actually might help children. So they've kind of surveyed, I think it's over 350 children, and asked them their favourite Disney princess, and those who had a favourite Disney princess with what they termed as an average body, say for example Moana, had a better image of themselves, and also those who had favourite Disney princesses that were more active, that are seen in the films to be running and jumping and this sort of stuff, those children were more likely to be active.
Okay, so it does actually have a very positive effect.
So Sleeping Beauty, you just lay there sleeping all the time. Aurora, you're out, I'm sorry. OK, let us know what you think of that. Are you still a fan? What do you make of the Disney princesses? 0896 111 111. Adam Higgins from the Irish Sun, thank you so much.
If you hear Let It Go one more time, are you just going to go, I can't do it anymore, I cannot do it anymore? Are you in that phase now? Is it over?
Yeah. Not mad about them
anymore. Do you miss your Disney princesses?
I kind of do, to be honest with you.
I know, that was so lovely. 0896 111 111. The Disney princesses, are they mad inside in your house? Now, after the break, we're taking a closer look at friendships in the workplace.
We sure are. Stay with us for more.
Normal thing, isn't it? Welcome back. Now, it makes sense to assume that if we like the people we work with, we'll have a better working life. But what sort of challenges can arise when we become closer to our colleagues?
Yes, joining us to discuss this is career consultant Angela Burke. You're very welcome, Angela. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So obviously it affects how you approach work and how you approach your workplace when you make friends with colleagues. But first of all, can you tell us, are there different levels of workplace friendships?
Yeah, there are. So you have your workplace bestie. I think we all know who that is. Then you have, and your workplace bestie is that person that you're, there's a bit of personal disclosure there. They know a bit about your life. They might make the cut for your wedding. You know, you're happy to see them outside.
That's so true, though. You know,
that's amazing.
You can't invite everyone.
I'm kind of now thinking, who's making the cut?
Same.
Stephen and Pete there. I'm not too sure. So
so they're your workplace bestie. You have those that you're kind of close to that might be in that circle, but you know they're not making the cut. You might not see them as often outside. Then you have the kind of acquaintance, the ones you're friendly with, you're happy to have a chat with at the water cooler, but you're happy to close the office door and just leave that, you know, leave that kind of friendship there.
Yeah. Because you have been looking into this and the effect that workplace friendships have on people's lives. I assume that they're very different in nature from when you get your first job in a shop when you're in school through to the first career in the 20s, 30s, and it changes the whole way, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think you come out of college and, you know, typically you're joining a graduate programme or, you know, there's a good few of you joining together, but you're in that, I suppose, era where you're looking for friendships, right? You have the time for friendships. I think then as you progress through your career, you just don't have the time to be maintaining as many friendships. And actually, I think you get a bit more serious about work. You're in there for salary, you're in there for flexibility or, you know, to climb the ladder. So at different points of our career, depending on what we need from our career, I think friendships will be more prominent or not.
And how about, so I know like people in their 20s or 30s, friend groups can kind of already be fully formed at that stage. And maybe someone who's newly single, they're looking for people who, you know, to go out with and do different things with. Are workplaces essential for forming new friendships around that age?
I think it depends on the type of person you are, doesn't it? Like, and also like your life circumstances. So like if you're single, if you're living alone, maybe when you go into the work, you're like, yeah, like this is my connection point, you know, this is who I'm talking to today. But I mean, if like that, if your friendships are formed, you know, you have your partner, etc. I think sometimes you're a bit like, I'm not here for that. You know, but there's definitely, like I actually surveyed recently on my Instagram about friendships and, you know, a lot of people were saying that they've actually stayed in a job for a long time that they've been completely dissatisfied with because of having that close friendship. And that's good in that, you know, they managed to kind of make it through, but it's bad also in a sense that you can't control people. So if your workplace bestie leaves tomorrow, like you're stuck and you may have missed out on several career opportunities over the last few years. So I think it's great if you have it, and it definitely helps on that rainy day where everything is going wrong and you feel you have someone, you know, someone has your back. But I think we also need to look holistically at what we need from our career outside of friendships, you know.
And we'd love to hear from you on this today. Like, what is it like with your workplace bestie? What is it that you get up to? 0896 111 111. Because one thing that I think is interesting as you get through your career and someone does progress and they become a manager, that changes the dynamic, right?
It does.
Because you can't keep that same friendship.
No, and I think you need to be upfront about that. I think you need to have a conversation the minute that happens, because you can have the best friendship in the world and you can think nothing's going to go wrong, but at the end of the day, difficult conversations take place between a manager and an employee, regardless of the level of friendship there. So I think you need to be upfront and be like, look, how are we going to handle these situations? You know, what are we going to do outside of the workplace? Are we going to continue talking about work, or will we, you know, put some boundaries in place? Because better off, you know, to avoid the nasty surprises.
I've seen friendships destroyed over like that sort of relationship happening. Like honestly, just completely implode because it changes everything, the whole dynamic.
No more dossing. You know?
No more dossing, but can you imagine bringing someone in and you're like, you have to critique them, you have to do all that kind of stuff. Like, it's awkward.
Or telling them they can't, you know, you can't give them the promotion that they've been working so hard all year for, you know, that they just got. So it's definitely a tricky one, but I think upfront conversations at the start, set the boundaries, and then everyone knows where they stand, you know?
And how about, so obviously if there's a large group of people, you know, people naturally are drawn to some people, but is there a danger of it becoming cliquey and people being left out?
I think we're all humans. We're always going to gravitate to those we feel most familiar with. I actually worked with a colleague who changed my mind on like the whole topic of inclusion. So she was saying, you know, inclusion to me is being excused from those extracurricular activities and being allowed to just say, you know what, that's not for me. I don't want to go to that team event tonight. And I was like, do you know what? You actually have a point.
Fun.
You know, I'm going to opt out. So I think when we talk about inclusion, it's so important in the workplace, and we want to make sure everyone feels included. And us, even if we are in a clique, I think you also need to balance that. You know, of course you want to spend, you know, your time, your coffee break with your close friend, but also be mindful, okay, let's like also, you know, spend some time with a larger group. But kind of thinking as well, particularly if you're in a management position, you know, some people don't want to be included, and that's what inclusion is for them.
Yeah.
Different point of view, you know.
It is interesting, the clicks inside and work. We'd love to hear from you today. 0896 111 111. Our Queen Bee is Alan Hughes, obviously. You know, we all just thought it were. He is the party animal around here. Angela Burke, career consultant, thank you so much for joining us today. Cheers. Thank you so much. Now, all this week on Ireland AM, we're getting cosy with Harry. Do you have a conservatory that needs some TLC? That's a question I always ask at this hour of the morning. Well, here's your chance to win a fantastic prize. How does a Harry Carey home interiors makeover and a brand new cosy roof sound to you? Didn't even know there was such thing as a cosy roof.
There you go. We're giving
to me.
We're giving you guys the chance to decorate the space with a €6,000 Harry Carey voucher to make it your own, along with converting your conservatory into a perfect living space.
To be with the chance of winning this great prize, just submit pictures of your conservatory. That's what we want to see. I have asked you for some weird things over the years, but today I'm asking you for pictures of your conservatory and why it deserves some much needed TLC. So you can send them to irelandamcomp@virginmedia.ie and you could get a cosy roof.
I'd love a cosy roof.
I'd love a cosy roof.
Yeah,
that'd be lovely. Tommy, do you want a cosy roof? He's got a cozy. He's fine with the cosy roof. There's lots more coming up this morning on Ireland AM.
Yeah, stay with us, guys.
Good morning, you're very welcome back to the show. We've got an action-packed few hours still ahead of us.
We do. We're hearing from the author who once begged the late Veronica Guerin to keep her distance from crime boss John Gilligan.
Yeah, that's coming up 8:15. We're also sitting down with a sensational scrum half. He must have wrote this himself. Peter Stringer is going to be here. We're going to talk about retirement and, of course, Ireland and their performance at the weekend. Look forward to catching up with him.
Absolutely. And the one and only Jennifer Rock, the skin nerd, will be here with the latest skincare trends, and she'll be telling us whether we should be including them in our beauty routines. I love a trend.
Just what we need.
Yeah, more stuff to think about.
My wife will be on a bit more things to buy.
More stuff.
Now Shiva is outside. Shiva, what have we got in the cookery?
Hi guys, I'm here with Erin Bunting this morning, and she's going to be showing us how to sweeten up our Monday. What have you got for us, Erin?
So this morning we've got this super simple blackberry and sweet geranium tart, and it's such a winner because basically you can make it in less than an hour. Most of that time's baking. It's just like perfect. Put everything in, mix it together, pour it into the tin, stick it in the oven.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
It'll be great.
That looks nice, doesn't it? Thank you, Erin.
Properly delicious. Looking forward to that in just a little while, about 8:35.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
This morning there'll be a band of patchy rain pushing southeastwards over Leinster. There'll be some drier spells for Ulster as the patchy rain clears, but cloudy with patchy rain and scattered showers returning from late morning. It will be a wet start this afternoon with widespread rain and heavier falls developing over Munster and Leinster. The bulk of the rain will start to clear eastwards through the afternoon with widely drier conditions developing over Ulster and Connacht. Maximum temperatures this afternoon 16 to 19 degrees. And a largely wet night ahead tonight with rain over much of Munster and Leinster, turning drier over Connacht and Ulster with a mostly cloudy sky initially, but clearer skies will develop around midnight. Lows tonight of 8 to 11 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's paper, starting with the Irish Times. Its headline, Financial Misconduct Sanctions Face Growing Pushback. The central bank is facing pushback from lawyers and company directors against sweeping powers to impose new sanctions against individuals for misconduct in the financial sector.
Postcode lottery as thousands are refused mental health care. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. More than half of the children and teenagers referred to their local child and adolescent mental health services are refused access in some parts of the country. Analysis of new data shows the number of children not accepted by the service varies dramatically depending on where they live.
The Examiner's front page, 850 vacant TUSLA posts as services feel pressure. The service says the war in Ukraine and other complex issues have led to a 13% surge in referrals to the agency. TUSLA interim CEO Kate Duggan has said that TUSLA was at crisis point due to the increase in demand for its services.
Tragedy as mother and son perish in fire at their home is the top story on the Daily Mail. The tight-knit community of Ballyjames-Duff, County Cavan, have been met with total shock as Kathleen Lynch and her son Michael Lynch passed away in an early morning house blaze before 2 a.m. on Sunday morning.
The Mirror's front page, Rome couple killed by cocaine driver. The driver of the car that killed 2 Irish tourists in Rome was found to have had cocaine in his system. The couple were named as Mary and Paul O'Reilly from the Kilmore area of County Wexford.
Star leads with one-punch attack tragedy. Peter McDermott has died following alleged one-punch in Westport in the early hours of Saturday morning.
The Sun leads with Bailey heart attack scare. Ian Bailey is fighting for his life after suffering 2 heart attacks in a week. The former person of interest in the 1996 Sophie Toscan du Plantier killing is being treated at Cork University Hospital.
And finally, the Herald goes with death penalty for Kinahans. A British drug baron arrested in Spain before he could pay back a €20 million debt to the Kinahan cartel has been jailed for 18 years in the UK. My goodness, they're horrific headlines this morning, aren't they? Our thoughts go out to everybody in Cavan, Wexford and some of those stories this morning.
Yeah. We've got some text coming in as well, guys, about these stories. So we were talking about the data showing number of children not accepted by mental health services varying by their location. So Linda texts in saying, CAMS refused my daughter after both a GP and Jigsaw referral. She has severe anxiety and was self-harming yet was still refused. It's terrible what's going on.
Yeah.
Self-harming and refused. I mean, when you're seeing 50% of people are being refused in certain areas as well. Becky said, my child's first referral came from a psychiatrist in Temple Street. CAMS refused for the next 4 to 5 years. We've got 5 further referrals from the GP. The last one was made late Tuesday evening through fax. Who does fax, by the GP, and Wednesday CAMS had met as a team and discussed, and there was already a refusal. My teenager in question has been attending private psychiatrists for nearly 2 years because they deemed the situation very severe and very long term.
And it's it's for people who have the means. We also know that in the private healthcare sector, mental health services are under severe strain there as well.
Can't keep up, yeah.
Yeah, leading on from that, there's also on the front of the paper today, 850 posts are vacant in TUSLA and they're under severe strain. They're seeing a 13% increase in referrals there. Leah says, I've worked in social care for the past 20 years. Unfortunately, I am leaving the sector due to poor wages and lack of support and the constant pressure being piled on the people on the floor from the top down. I have been physically attacked on a number of occasions and had zero support once I was out of work. For the bones of a year, Again, I got absolutely no support. The pay is extremely low. I am told, oh, it's such a vocation. That's all well and good, but a vocation does not pay the bills now, does it? I love what I do, but I am disenchanted and disillusioned. And ultimately, who is going to suffer are the people who use the services, as the turnover of staff and shortages is impacting care. And that is such a crock when people say, well, it's a vocational job.
Yeah, but like
you still
a
need to put
vocational
food on the table.
and a vocational job in the sense of doing the job that I want to do. But now that there's such a shortage, like they're being overworked and expected to do more and more. And when you see Tusla is trying to get, so they're trying to recruit more posts. But as we talked earlier on, we were speaking to somebody in a text message where they were having to Skype a doctor in Doha or Dubai, I think, to try, because they just don't have the services here in Ireland. It is
scary.
I mean, for parents and for children and teenagers out there, it really is frightening. Thank you so much for sending your texts.
We would. 0896 111 111 to get in contact. We've got lots more on the way. Talk to you very shortly.
Good morning, you're very welcome back. Now, we have to warn you that the next clip we're about to show contains descriptions of violence that some viewers might find distressing.
It's from tonight's episode of Confessions of a Crime Boss here on Virgin Media 1, which focuses on the late journalist Veronica Guerin's involvement with crime boss John Gilligan. Let's take a look.
He beat her to the ground and continued to beat her until he suddenly stopped himself and she was screaming with pain and fear. Like, there's no doubt about the fact that he attacked her.
That's the account that was accepted by the authorities and the DPP when they decided that they would charge Gilligan with a very serious assault on her at his property that day. What most people would think at that point was that this had now reached the point where Gilligan was, had been charged and was going to face court and possibly and most likely be jailed for this. I don't think anybody at that point would have had any kind of fears or any forethought of what might happen.
I was charged on the ward in front of Guerin for the assault charge when she came down to Jesbrook and criminal damage to her coat and blouse. So that was only one person.
Joining us now is author Michael Sheridan. Good morning to you, Michael.
Morning.
Thanks so much for coming to join us. And we saw you just describing the absolute brutal attack on Veronica, of course, of which John Gilligan denies to this day. Can you take us back, though, even your relationship with Veronica? Where did that come about?
That came about... I worked in the Sunday Independent. I did film for the Sunday Independent. I did all the... big star reviews, etc. But around the summer of 1995, I was also interested in writing scripts. Somebody commissioned me to do a film on Dublin gangland, because that was all emerging at that time, as we remember. And of course, what did I know about Dublin gangland? Nothing. So I went to arrange to meet Veronica, and we sat down, had coffee, and I said, look, I know nothing about this. Would you act as a consultant on the script and get paid for it and all? And she agreed. And over a period of time, we met regularly and spoke on the phone and everything. And basically what she gave me was a map of Dublin gangland with all the central figures who were referred to in the newspapers by pseudonyms like the Coach, the Monk, the General, etc. And as it evolved, this started in a real sense about the end of September. So she recounted everything that she had gone through, because I told her, would she focus on her role, because I felt that that's what the story would be in the end as a journalist. And we developed a very close relationship. And she gave me the sort of, apart from what she's writing about, the inside information about what was going out and all the figures.
I suppose that at this time, it was the first time we had this really strong gangland presence in Ireland, and they were on the front, like, as you mentioned, John Traynor, Martin Cahill, the General. They were on the front of the papers. We started to get to know them through seeing them on a Sunday in the papers.
Yes.
But when you met John Gilligan, you saw John Gilligan, what did you first make of him?
See, there was quite a lot known about the other major figures. There was very little known about John Gilligan at that time, other than the fact, as recounted by Veronica to me, and then subsequently well known, that he had assaulted her so viciously, actually, I didn't mention that in the documentary, it just escaped me, that she became incontinent at the time. Wow. And she had to drive back home and be bathed by her mother, Bernie. That was a horrific experience. Now, we discussed the assault charge against Gilligan. I felt, from my point of view, before ever seeing him, there was an issue here in terms of how successful this would be. Because he had threatened to kill her, he had threatened to kidnap and rape her son, Cathal. And I found that that is psychopathic and that's highly dangerous. And how I put it to her was, it's his word against yours. There are no witnesses, but the danger for you is enormous. So there was a hearing of the assault charge in Kilcock in a courthouse, which was a health centre in actual fact, but they often used in the country. And we were there. I went down with Veronica and her husband, and then we also had a special branch car, armed special branch people with us. That's how seriously they took it. We arrived there was no sign of Gilligan, and then 6 big black Pajero Jeeps drove up in a cavalcade and stopped. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, this ain't the movies. This is real. She was shaking all of a sudden, you know, with fear and anticipation of facing this guy who had done that to her. And Gilligan got out, he eyeballed us very blatantly. And I'm going to be honest, I was scared, really scared. And ultimately, the thing was adjourned. And then we went to Castleknock and we all had lunch with the special branch guys. And I said to Veronica, she said to me, I'll drive you back to the Indo in Middle Abbey Street. And I said, I need to meet you next week, urgently. Why? I said, because your life is in absolute and utter danger. I want to discuss the whole thing with you, and I'm afraid for you. So we subsequently met in Buswell's Hotel, and for an hour and a half, I presented it to her dispassionately. Yes, he did beat you up. We all know that. I said, but if you go into a court, there is no guarantee that you can win this case. In the interim, I said, he has threatened to kill you, and I saw a psychopath in front of me in Kilcock, and he will kill you. Please, please, drop the charge.
But because I said, like, she felt that she was in a public position, that she had to fight and show that, you know, we can't shy away from this. We can't back down.
Well, OK, Tommy, but there was a background there before this. I think in 1994, there were shots fired into her house after she had written an article in the Sunday Independent. In the 30th of January 1995, in the same year, a ring on the doorbell and a masked gunman had a gun pointed at her head and then put it down and shot her in the leg.
This has always been denied by the person accused of this, and John Gilligan maintains that Veronica did this to herself, which
is absurd.
But can I talk to you then, Michael, about in this documentary, and I understand that what's happening in the world with the fascination with true crime, there is a fascination with gangland characters in this country and the control that they have.
Yes.
I suppose in the documentary, when I was watching it, he's just allowed to say whatever he wants without anyone kind of challenge, which I'm sure they're doing behind the scenes, but he kind of just says out. And you can understand Veronica's brother, Jimmy Guerin, is very much against this documentary because we're lending credence, I suppose, from his point of view, to a fella that people are saying is lying.
You see, there are two sides to this story. The real facts of it is that these guys, from Ted Bundy on, the most worst criminals and serial killers are interviewed by Piers Morgan, by everybody. Yeah. The thing is, you can look at this and you can say, well, if I was questioning John Gilling, I think the interview would stop in 5 minutes because I would confront him. I understand the interviewer in this has to present it in a certain
just let
way.
him kind of speak?
Let him talk. I would have assumed that people like myself would come along, be interviewed, and completely nail Gilligan for what he did. But going back to what I was saying, it is unquestionable that John Gilligan did this. It is unquestionable that he organised the assassination of...
Again, something that he has continued to deny, and we know that
of course he will.
documentary.
It's interesting, though, that even the Minister for Justice has said that she won't watch this.
That is absurd, Tommy. The Minister for Justice ought to be extremely interested in a historical thing, which, let's face it, the drugs and the gangland and the gang killings have not gone away, despite Veronica's death, and she should be interested in seeing it. And I think it's quite extraordinary that the Minister for Justice would be make comments about something she hasn't even seen.
That said that she hadn't seen it, and that is quite interesting about that. You, of course, wrote the film When the Sky Falls, which starred Joan Allen as Veronica Guerin, and you knew her quite well, and we're going to see you again tonight. Michael Sheridan, filmmaker, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Very much, Michael.
And Confessions of a Crime Boss, it airs tonight at 10 right here on Virgin Media 1.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
This morning there'll be a band of patchy rain pushing southeastwards over Leinster. There'll be some drier spells for Ulster as the patchy rain clears, but cloudy with patchy rain and scattered showers returning from late morning. It will be a wet start this afternoon with widespread rain and heavier falls developing over Munster and Leinster. The bulk of the rain will start to clear eastwards through the afternoon with widely drier conditions developing over Ulster and Connacht. Maximum temperatures this afternoon 16 to 19 degrees. And a largely wet night ahead tonight with rain over much of Munster and Leinster, turning drier over Connacht and Ulster with a mostly cloudy sky initially, but clearer skies will develop around midnight. Lows tonight of 8 to 11 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
Perfect coffee every time. Tassimo sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Hello, you're very welcome back. We are outside where it's starting to get a bit darker. But anyway, our resident edible flower expert, Erin Bunting, is here with one of our most popular dishes.
Yes, Erin is brightening up our morning for us here. So you are making, what are you making for us today, Erin?
I'm making this blackberry and sweet geranium tart, and it looks like a kind of French patisserie tart, but you can whip it together in about half an hour and then sort of half an hour baking.
You're not going to have any almonds to put on top of it anymore?
No, well, that'll be fine because we're actually probably not, but this is one I prepared earlier. So we've got some icing sugar in here, and we're going to add in some ground almonds, about 150 grams of ground almonds and 75 grams of plain flour.
Okay, super.
And give that all a mix together.
I love ground almonds in something. It really gives it a thickness to it, doesn't it? A moistness, I feel.
And it's so great if you're trying to bake for gluten-free. Someone who's gluten-free or something, so ground almonds, great alternative if you're doing something gluten-free.
So what could you do if you didn't have ground almonds?
Well, you could use...
Something else you put in instead of it.
Not this cake.
Well, you could... I mean, I would say nuts are key to this bake.
Oh, are they?
But
right.
if you didn't have ground... it would be a different type of cake. But you could put ground hazelnuts or ground walnuts or something in. Blackberry and sweet geranium tart.
There's nothing about nuts in that name.
Well, I would say that grind nuts of some nature are kind of essential to this sort of
name of it now,
flavour of this tart. But you could use ground hazelnuts or you could use ground walnuts or something as well. And we'll put the zest of a lemon in here. And then what we're using is this kind of key ingredient, which is sweet geranium leaves, which are a really underused herb. And they have this amazing kind of rosy, lemony...
My geraniums are still flowering at the minute.
Well, it's not all geraniums, so you have to kind of get this specific variety.
So I can't use my geraniums.
No, so it's called Pelargonium graveolens, and it has this kind of rosy, lemony flavour.
So the geraniums you have in your garden, you can't use their leaves,
there's
but
lots
you
of
can
different
use these ones.
There's lots of different varieties of geraniums.
Okay.
So, and this specific one is a scented geranium. There's quite a few different scented geraniums as well. Some that have like mint flavour, some that are more rosy, some that are more orangey.
What's this one called again? Sorry.
This is Pelargonium graveolens.
How did you not remember that?
Come on write
now.
that down.
Come on.
So we've got all those bits and pieces in here, and then while we've got all that mixed together, I'm just gonna. This is egg whites, so it's about 265 grams of egg whites. It's about 6 egg whites.
Okay.
And you don't need to whisk it to like stiff peaks, which is what you would do for like meringues or that type of thing. You just need to kind of whisk it together until it's kind of broken up and slightly fluffy, like this. And this is a really good recipe, I always think, for if you've got loads of. If you're making like custard or lemon curd or mayonnaise, you use lots of egg yolks. But this recipe just has egg whites in it, so it's a good recipe for that, or like, you know, meringues or similar.
Okay, perfect. I love that.
And
to
you
reduce
can
the waste.
freeze egg whites, so that is a really good tip. So if you're making mayonnaise or custard or something, you have some leftover egg whites, just pop them in a tub, and then once you have enough, you could make this tart. So
or an egg white omelette.
Or don't make an egg white omelette. No, nobody needs that.
No, come on. We're having a lovely sweet tart
nice
this morning. Yeah,
So
we don't want to hear about anything healthy right now.
Okay.
We're going to tip the dry ingredients in there, and we're going to tip in 265 grams of melted butter. And this is what's so good about this, because like you don't need to do any beating or anything. You know, like it's basically just one bowl
together.
Like when you said it was a half an hour, I was like, maybe it's a you half hour, but this could be an anyone half hour.
Yeah, once you've got the ingredients together.
As the expert, like.
You can just, and then you kind of fold it together until like everything's combined. You just want to make sure that butter isn't like kind of separating out of the batter. So you just want to.
Would you use the whisk again? Why are you using the wooden spoon?
Because you're kind of folding it together. You don't want to like over stir flour. Once you've got some flour in something, you don't want to kind of, because you're kind of developing the gluten, and that's what makes the cake tough.
Okay.
So you're kind of folding it together nice and gently, and that's all it needs.
Does the air not get into it whenever you kind of like whisk? Do you know
Yeah, you get a little bit of air in there, and then
folding.
this doesn't need to be too airy. It's not like a really airy bake, but you can see it's quite a light batter, and that's basically.
That's it.
Well, I'm going to move this over here so you can see.
And it's kind of funny, isn't it, seeing green flecks in a cake batter? You don't normally see the green stuff in the sweet stuff.
Yeah, but it tastes so delicious and adds like such a delicious flavour to it. You do want to chop those kind of sweet geranium leaves quite finely, because they're kind of sort of biggish, chunky leaves. But that should be.
And will that rise?
It'll rise a little bit, so you can see just from that one there that I made yesterday. It rises a wee bit.
And about the taste, I know.
Not too much. There's
not. This one is beautifully presented. You obviously didn't just throw the berries in.
No. So I picked the berries yesterday in the hedgerows of County Down. Still loads of blackberries going, free food. And so what you can do is, which is what I did with yesterday's one, is you can very gently.
Is that where the half an hour comes in? Do you want to take it 2 hours to do that?
It wouldn't take you 2 hours. You get quite quick at it.
So
or
do that? Yeah.
Yes,
this is my
if you don't want to do that, you can just
That's a bit of me.
buck them in all over the top for a more random look.
Look at that. Perfect.
And then basically, once you've got those blackberries in, because you're putting them in the top, they'll stay, you know, nice and near the top of the tart. Gives you this lovely kind of effect.
Can I do some as well with the almonds in? Just kind of like.
Well, actually, normally I would put the.
Oh dear! Sorry, what?
Normally I put the almonds on after it's baked.
Okay.
You can eat those ones. You can have those ones.
But it'll still be fine. So you then pop that in the oven at 200 degrees C for 10 minutes, and then I turn it down to 180 for about 20-25 minutes until it's like looks like this. Kind of golden around the edges, a bit lighter in the middle. And then just, if you want to, you can then just serve it straight away, sprinkle some almonds over the top, serve it straight away, or if you want kind of more of a French patisserie finish, then melt a little bit of this is a apple and sweet geranium jelly, but any kind of jam. You could melt a little bit of jam or a bit of honey, and then just brush it over the top with a pastry brush and sprinkle your almonds on top.
Oh,
and like really it is a...
So it looks nice and glazed.
Could you do a honey note?
Yeah, a little bit of honey over the top mix as well. Just gives you that kind of nice, sort of nice finish. A little bit of red currant jelly, apple jelly.
Well, it's absolutely delicious,
Absolutely
Erin.
delicious,
I can see why it's one of your most loved. All right. What's the name of the geranium again?
So it's Pelargonium graveolens. It's like a sweet geranium. But you can also, I was going to say, a great tip for this is that you can also use frozen fruit in it. So if you've got a bag of frozen raspberries, works really well in here as well. Or like sliced peaches, sliced nectarines, that type of thing.
Frozen
Pears.
egg whites, frozen fruit. You got it all covered.
Like you could have it all in the freezer. A few things in the store, cover it, throw it together, and everyone will be wowed.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Erin. This is the best breakfast I've ever had. What's the name of that geranium again, Tommy? We'll leave it. Okay, he's chewing. He's chewing. After the break. Thanks, Erin.
I've got mine here.
After the break, from skin flooding to gua sha goodness, we're unpacking the latest skincare trends.
See you after the break.
Perfect coffee every time. Tassimo sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Falta Arash. Now, with so many skincare tips and tricks popping up online, it can be hard to know what advice to trust.
Honestly, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Do I have to buy all these things all the time? Thankfully, we have the wonderful Jennifer Rock, a.k.a. the Skin Nerd, with us because we trust you implicitly. You wouldn't lie to us, right?
I definitely wouldn't. 100%.
So let's break down some of these trends that we're always seeing online. The first one is skin flooding. What is this?
So the name sort of suggests that it's about flooding the skin with sheer hydration. So to be honest, it's something I'm very much for. It's got hundreds of millions of views. TikTok in particular, this is where you'll always find the trends of the moment is within the TikTok space. So essentially what is it? You cleanse your skin, which I'll always say you should do every morning, every evening. So whatever you have at home, you've got the cleanser, you're ready to go. Then it's about spritzing the skin. Now I have, I think, coined the term spritz o'clock for many a year, but it's all about getting that fine mist or hydration onto the skin. Again, whatever mist you might have at home. There's always a difference between a mist and a piece of water. People think, can I just wet my skin? Usually a spritz has finer molecule sizes that will allow it to get onto the skin and really penetrate the further products in better.
But if you don't have a mist, you can just dampen your skin with a bit of water?
Damping is definitely the key, and both. We're going to talk about 3 pieces today, but having the skin wet is definitely the main goal throughout it all. So cleanse the skin, spritz the skin, leave it to be wet. Do not dry it. Remember old school, you'd always blot dry? No. Keep that skin wet. And then in skincare, there's 2 types of ways to hydrate the skin. There's a gel, or what we like to call a humectant, which means it draws moisture into the skin. And there's a moisturiser that feels like your typical kind of cream. So the goal of your skin flooding is that you cleanse, skin's clean, spritz, keep the skin wet, go with a gel-based serum next, and then finish with a moisturiser. And the goal of that is that you then, that last layer of moisturiser, you know, the one that feels nice and luxurious on your skin, that's literally in unison.
It's like
we know the one.
The one thing where we're like,
we understand.
It's like when you get a dog behind the ear in the right way. We're like, yeah, that's the one.
But that moisturiser keeps all those water-based products in within. Now, there's another concept, if I may move on, is into skin glazing. Now, this one's slightly controversial in my opinion, because if you think of like your donut, your kind of like your glazed donut, that's what they're trying to get your skin to aspire to be like, which just, come on, guys, it's never going to happen. However, it's a trend, it's out there. Again, it's hundreds of thousands of followers, people are intrigued by it. So ultimately, and I blame the celebrities, there's one particular celebrity in particular that likes to talk about glazed donuts and how her skin looks like it.
Who?
It's
Gwyneth.
Hailey.
Yeah, Hailey Bieber. You're right, you're absolutely right. And her skin does look phenomenal, let's not lie. But we cannot look like an animal.
But she has someone glazing her up every half an hour. Like, we need to realise that there is someone there glazing her up.
Yes. And we'll never look like a donut. It's just
it's another set of unrealistic beauty expectations for women to look like a glazed donut.
But
you know, there's enough out there.
Exactly. There's so much pressure there. So essentially, they're not dissimilar, to be honest, flooding and glazing. The difference that I want to note is that you would use a more exfoliating cleanser, so you're really sloughing off those dead skin cells. And then you'd still do the same concept of hydration, spritz. So that moisture piece is really coming through strong in skincare at the moment. 365, we used to be very much about hydration, dewy skin in the summer. Now it's 365. But finishing with an oil, that's the key part. So that's how they get that glazing element to it.
What was that woman doing there? She was like, she was painting something on her skin. So that was just Korean skincare. They just kind of put...
Good point. So this is both, these are both from, but particularly the flooding, it's a K-beauty concept that they've done for
Korean
many a year.
Okay.
Yes, and the Asian beauty is definitely, in many ways, far ahead of our kind of European way. Which leads us beautifully on to the famous word gua sha that we have to talk about.
I love a gua sha. Okay, we're going to see a video of this. What is is gua sha?
So gua sha, there's 2.5 billion views for gua sha on TikTok. It is a phenomenon. So essentially it's an old ancient art from Asia whereby it's all about muscle tension. There's actually been a PubMed research done on 48 different candidates to show when you'll see here, it's quite deep pressure. It's almost like a heart-shaped tool. And you essentially use each element of that tool to really go outwards and upwards, but you're really trying to get a pink hue. You're really trying to massage the skin to bring all the oxygen to the area, to bring the nutrients to the area. Where it's brilliant for is neck tension. And this PubMed article has actually shown that you'll get phenomenal short-term relief from muscle tension, headache tension, jaw tension if you do this regularly.
And this is the gua sha stone, so you're kind of going here. I always thought it was for lymphatic drainage.
Yeah,
but
it does do both, right? So gua sha predominantly, what was originally created is for that deep pressure. So it's outwards, outwards. So you're always going down to up. That's how they describe it. So in any area, the bottom area, up, up, and then out, out. So if you're going here, it's the same thing, up, up, out, out. And then on the neck, it's usually down and in. So that's where it does have an impact on the lymphatic system.
Okay.
Now, where...
sorry, what are they normally made of? They're normally beautiful colours. Like, what are they?
So gua sha typically was actually originally made from stone, as you might imagine, like centuries ago. Now it's made from all sorts of, I suppose, laboratory-made pieces. Where there's a confusion, right, and back to your question, is that there's now another concept. Well, I say now, there's another concept that's been brought to kind of mainstream conversation, which is a roller. So gua sha is that love heart shape kidney bean almost. That's really about deep blood circulation, muscle tension. The jade roller is a different concept. So this is where the stone really is important. So jade rolling, or what this is, the rose quartz, is all about the energy, the chi. So again, back to that Asian philosophy of what flows through your body. So it's not just the superficial, it's what's inside.
Does it do anything?
So this I really love for lymphatic drainage. So this one is the one I go to if I look puffy and my, you know, when you wake up in the morning, I did this morning at 5 and I'm like, oh my dear goodness, there is swelling there. So not swelling, that's medical. Please never confuse the two. This is more just puffiness, tiredness, might have had a tipple or two at the weekend, you just feel kind of like inflated. So this is a different concept. So where with the gua sha, you're really placing pressure. This is actually just nice outward motions, and this is where you're always bringing to your lymphatic system. So ideally, you would start by pressing. She knows her stuff. And this is where you'd ideally press underneath the armpits first. So you're releasing your, your axillary nodes, and then you're if you notice the tutorials, they'll always teach you to press, press, press. So essentially, it's a form of acupressure that's opening up the lymph nodes, and again in front of the ears. And then when you do your rolling, you're really bringing the lymph to the area.
Right.
You can do it over a sheet mask or over an oil.
She's managed to get our pits involved in our skincare today.
Why not?
Of course she did. Jennifer Rock, the skin nerd, you're staying with us. We'll be talking to you about more things in just a little while. We'll be back with you in Ireland AM very shortly.
You're very welcome back to the show. We've still lots more to come on Ireland AM this morning. Coming up very shortly, we're going to be discussing Ireland's chances in the Rugby World Cup and life after rugby with a legend of the game. He's like the Sphinx cat, the hairless cat of the Irish rugby team. Peter Stringer is outside and look forward to catching up with him. Murren.
I was chatting to Peter and he was like, he's been slagging me since 7:05 this morning. What am I going to bring to get this Tommy Bow back? So I'm hoping he's going to bring us something. Jennifer Rock, aka the Skin Nerd, has kindly stayed with us to answer some burning beauty questions from you at home. Jennifer, what are the sort of stuff we'll be chatting about?
We've quite a wide range, which is brilliant. So between redness to dry skin to anti-aging on the neck, a lot of people feel conscious that their face can look one age and the neck another, so we shall discuss it and all.
Something I'm really starting to notice, you know, Nora Ephron wrote a book about neck wrinkles and I'm like, yeah, I totally feel you. I get it. I get you, Nora. I get you, Nora. And from skincare to showbiz, what have you got for us today, Shiva?
I wonder what kind of skincare a Sphinx cat uses. I'm here.
Donut, that's what it looks like.
I don't think we need me for showbiz. I think Peter Stringer is going to bring the gossip today, guys. I don't think I'm needed.
That's it.
But I am here with the showbiz queen herself, Ali Ryan. Ali, what will we be discussing today?
So we're going to be doing a deep dive into all the controversy over the weekend with Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, what's really going on there, the Danny Masterson trial, and the latest on the Joe Jonas-Sophie Turner split.
Yes, I'm excited to get into that with you.
You need to be chill to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
This morning there'll be a band of patchy rain pushing southeastwards over Leinster. There'll be some drier spells for Ulster as the patchy rain clears, but cloudy with patchy rain and scattered showers returning from late morning. It will be a wet start this afternoon with widespread rain and heavier falls developing over Munster and Leinster. The bulk of the rain will start to clear eastwards through the afternoon with widely drier conditions developing over Ulster and Connacht. Maximum temperatures this afternoon 16 to 19 degrees. And a largely wet night ahead tonight with rain over much of Munster and Leinster, turning drier over Connacht and Ulster with a mostly cloudy sky initially, but clearer skies will develop around midnight. Lows tonight of 8 to 11 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
Hello, you're very welcome back. Now, earlier on in the show, you're both talking about is it okay to with work colleagues and friendships?
Yes, making friends and work.
What did you come to a conclusion on?
That it can be weird, that if you get, like, when you become quite powerful at workplace, there can be a change in power dynamics and friends that might have been there, it might be a bit dodgy. So,
okay, they're
just not as important as you get older, I think, is the thing that Angela Burke was saying a little bit earlier on, that they're very different.
Yes, that you should prioritise your career. Okay. And not get too stuck on the
friendships. Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, which is interesting, like, considering, you know, where people work and how it is that they work, Jess. I think it all comes down to the workplace. I'm a hairdresser and I recently changed salons. In my old salon, we were all just there to work, get in, get out. However, the new salon is the closest workplace in the world. We carpool to work, we walk our dogs together after work, and let me tell you, I've left my husband at home on many a Saturday night to go out with the work girls.
Sure,
That's lovely.
Like, you spend so much time in work, you might as well be enjoying it.
I think
exactly.
so. Yeah, it can become a bit like of a familial place, you know?
And if you get on well with the people you work with, surely you're more productive and stuff as well, no?
Yeah, you're happier going to work. No comment from Warren there. Kevin actually texted in saying, I worked in a job where workplace friendships became workplace isolation. I saw how it affected people. I've seen a lot of tears in the pastry fridge. So people just need to be careful that these friendships don't start hurting other people. And that is a danger, you know, that you can start isolating people, that some people are closer than others and then people feel left out.
It's like back to school again.
Kind of, yeah, a bit of gossipy stuff going on, you know, that's a danger.
Jill, I'm 43 years old. I've been working in my office for 12 years now and I just have no interest in being friends with my co-workers. Good honesty, Jill, love it. I'm sure they are nice people, but I just don't want to know them. I already have my friend group, there you go, and I don't need my co-workers knowing my personal business.
I aspire to have that attitude. Like.
Don't care. I'm here to do my job. Don't talk to me. Yeah, thank you very much for that, Jill.
I want to have a chat with Jill.
Yeah, that's powerful
so
stuff.
Fabulous.
I don't know,
it's
Jill.
So good.
Surely it's worth being friends.
Well, do you know what? We're going to get the lowdown about work friendships coming up. Because we're going to have one of your old work buddies. He's coming in.
We're not going to get into too much lowdown, hopefully.
Are we not? No, Peter said he's going to tell me absolutely everything, because coming up next, his former work colleague and Irish international Peter Stringer will be joining us. We'll talk to you in just a few minutes. Said you're a terror.
Very welcome back. Now, from Six Nations to Six Packs, our next guest is the right man for our rugby legend who's bringing fitness to the masses.
Why is he smiling there? Peter Stringer, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Very well, thank you.
I have a feeling there might be a little bit of pot stirring going on here at the minute.
Let's bring it on. I'm ready.
Bring it on.
Let's
ready? See the six-pack. Come on, then. Give the people what they want. I mean, listen, if you don't do it now, just follow the social media. It's literally all these posts.
It's very
T-shirts are optional.
That's what it is on social media. Let's talk about, first of all, of course, the Rugby World Cup. Ireland off to a very successful start to the campaign. Not the greatest game, but we were never expected that against Romania.
80 points, not bad.
80 points, not bad at all. What do you think? Are we going to get the quarter-final monkey off our back in the Rugby World Cup?
I looked at, obviously, the key game is the South African match. Looking at that first game, France-New Zealand, and obviously France coming through it, being really resilient, they're going to top that pool. So I think we're hoping for nearly New Zealand in that quarter-final. So this crunch game with South Africa is going to be massive. But look, they're starting out in their journey as well. They weren't overly impressive. I thought they were really physical, which we expected from them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that game's going to be key as to who we play in the quarterfinals. So I think we're hoping for New Zealand.
Because, I mean, listen, you were a part of a number of World Cup teams, and like even the last time we were in France in 07, won't mention it. Like, it just seems to be such a happy camp there over at the minute, and it makes it easier when you're winning. But there is a reason that the Irish public and everybody is so optimistic about this team, despite being in a group of death.
Yeah, a group of death, but I think to win a World Cup, it's about being really consistent, I suppose, which we probably weren't, you know, back in the day. We were one-off big games. We could rely on maybe, you know, putting in a really good performance and winning those games. But now, having beaten New Zealand in a test series down there, playing against the bigger nations, so-called bigger nations, and winning more often than not has given this squad of players a huge amount of confidence going into it. I think that's what we need. Playing against South Africa, we know you can beat them. In isolation, they can beat these teams. But it's, again, putting it together week after week after week. And I think having a squad, keeping them fit, I think everyone's available for the next game. Everyone's fit, which is great.
And it does, but it is kind of the cohesion. Like, we do think of Ian and what you did with the Six Nations, and it was amazing to see, you know, win it and all that kind of stuff. But it is...
And that was amazing.
Was it amazing?
You don't remember much of it, I'd say, do you? The condition you were in.
Condition, it was worth celebrating, Peter.
We call it a condition. But, you know, you'd be famous for, you know, your hand taps from Munster and everything that you did about that. We were talking about friendships earlier on. Is it important for a team to kind of... It must be incredibly important for you to be able to have the crack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is about the crack, and Tommy will tell you it was probably more about the crack for Tommy than the actual playing on the field and being in the gym. And, you know, part of what I'm launching my app, I'm hoping to get people like Tommy, novices and guys who've never really been in the gym for strength training, just to get guys like him involved and introduce them to actual proper training. So, look, like you said, having fun in a team environment and being friends. I think you look at the likes of, like, there's a good mix with the squad now. You see, you know, Johnny Sexton and Peter O'Mahony, and there's a great mix of the guys, you know, from the different provinces. So I think you can really tell there's a really good cohesion there between them.
They do certainly have a special bond, and there's a couple of real characters in the team as well. But yes, as Peter said, I did enjoy the celebrations. The problem is that Peter, who's a fella who never actually touched the alcohol, so while I was there enjoying myself, thinking I was having the best time of life, he'd video it all, and then the next morning he's the one down at the kitchen, down in the breakfast.
You weren't the one
who's showing everybody the look at your man.
No. I never videoed, right? But I have it all locked in here, and I tell you, my strength came from carrying Tommy out of nightclubs and bars at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. That's where the real strength came from.
That was it.
That was it. That's
Do you know what? I believe that. I would totally and utterly believe that was the case. He's a very strong. After the weekend that just happened, of course, Johnny Sexton, he's gotten that record now. He's taken it from Ronan O'Gara, the point-scoring record. You know, we always associate you with Ronan O'Gara, having played in those positions together for so long. Would Ronan care about that?
Maybe a little bit, but I think knowing what Raj has done in his career, I think you can... Whoever comes after you in that position, you know, they're never going to take away what you've achieved in the game, really. You know, I think I look at it, you know, Conor passed me out in a number of caps from a scrum half point of view, which, look, whatever I've achieved in the game, nobody else is going to achieve in terms of my accolades on the field and what I put in on the field. So each career is separate. But I think, look, records are there to be broken. I think, Ronan, there's always something in the backs of our minds that we'd love to hold on to that. But it's always going to be taken. But I think there's always that rivalry. And I think that's probably what drove Johnny on, knowing that level of rivalry that they had between the two of them.
You can see that's why Johnny was so cranky coming off the pitch, because he was like, I want to break more records. And he is competitive. That's the way you're driven. Listen, you retired 5 years. Like, what age did you play until 50?
40, yeah.
40,
yeah.
Like, it's
numbers were
You're
never
aging yourself now when you do that. You know that.
But you retired 5 years ago. Like, you're now living out in Dubai.
Yeah.
How are you finding the change of scenery, a bit of sunshine?
A bit of sunshine is nice. Do you know what? Look, I had an offer of a job out there and working with, I suppose, individuals who are looking to achieve, I suppose, high performance, both in business and also in sport. And I've been trying to get a glimpse into other sports and how people perform on a day-to-day basis, just to kind of take little snippets from, you know, different areas and different fields. So it's been great. It's been really, really good, because we're in the bubble for rugby for so long. Yeah. And I never really kind of opened my vision too much when I was playing, because I wanted to kind of really commit to that. But now that I'm retired, it's given me that opportunity to kind of see different walks of life and see how people operate. So it's been brilliant. Yeah, really good.
Because it is interesting to see how, like, you're quite a regimented human being. You know, if we're a minute late for a meeting, he'd be like, "Come on, let's go." Because it's what was drilled in. Oh, would you? Yeah, whatever.
Timekeeping.
Myself and Alan are always like, "Oh, here we go."
That's just the way you
Matrons
should
at
operate.
us again.
Yeah, like you're meant to be on time.
But
we're on television.
Let's talk about Body Plan. I don't know if we're using this to actually just show pictures of you working out is probably what it is. This is the app that you're doing at the moment.
Yes.
And you want everyone getting us all fit.
But you know what? It's something that I probably looked at it a few years ago and thought, okay, for high-performing individuals, top-level elite athletes, let's put something out there. But then a lot of people kind of look at my Instagram and think, oh, that's great, but I could never kind of do some of those things.
I swear, I get knackered looking at it, like it's really tiring what you do.
So I wanted to do something where there are programs for everybody. So from novices, like I said,
gave that baby a
Tommy, to literally elite athletes. So I've got programs and there's just guidance there. People sometimes don't know where to start, okay? So don't be intimidated by any photographs or any videos. Everybody has to start somewhere. And there are programs for people to do at home or in the gym. So it's literally for everybody. I work with people men and women who are in their 60s, right? Who are just introducing themselves to strength training. And it is so important for our health going forward, strength training.
Very important.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There is a chance. You're never too old and it's never too late to start training. No matter what level you are, just get into it, get into the gym, start lifting weights, because as we age, to have that confidence of getting stronger, I've seen with people have a fall, they break a bone when they're old, and then their independence goes and they rely on other people.
100%.
So this is just about keeping your muscle mass, your bone density in shape as you get older. So this app will get you on track.
Body Plan it is, of course, or peterstringer.ie if you want to find out more. Yes. I mentioned Dubai as well. Debbie's obviously moved out there. The 2 kids as well, very similar ages to mine. Like, are they enjoying life in Dubai, or do you think would they like to come back? How's it going?
Do you know what? We went out and we're very fortunate. Debbie's sister lives out there as well, so the guys have cousins there, and we've been there a lot over the years, and it's just a place, it's really family orientated. Kids love it. There's so much for them to do. And again, with the job that I was offered, it's just something that it was a no-brainer. The kids are at a good age to try it, see how it is for a couple of years. And at the moment, they love it. They love school. They love the change in scenery. And to have the best of both worlds, to get back, for summers here, because obviously the heat over there is a bit of an issue.
So we don't even need to bring our own sleeping bag. You'll just we can just grab a sheet off you and stay on the couch.
Absolutely. Anyone's welcome. Tommy,
but there's loads of Irish as well, isn't there?
There's loads of great community, big expat community over there. So, but look, we'll see how it is for a couple of years. And people always want to come visit, which is great. And family and friends want to come out. So,
no doubt about it. What I have to say as well, you've done a lot of travelling through this business. Like in Dubai, I'd see you bump into some incredible people, and we saw a picture of you with Dana White there recently, the head of the UFC, and Kelly Slater, the world famous surfer. Like, do you just bump into people who you try to look like in the pictures of your?
I could only dream of looking like Kelly Slater.
Keith Wood, you're obviously bumping into him there recently as well.
Keith Wood. That was a trip to the States, and I'd arranged that in terms, again, looking at different sporting environments and seeing how people at the top level operate. And it's just great to see, like I said, getting out of that bubble of the rugby world where everyone seems to do things the same way. So just to broaden the horizon a small bit and see how things are.
Do you want to go into coaching and training?
Rugby coaching? I'm doing a bit of underage coaching in Dubai, and that's keeping me happy.
That's keeping you happy?
Yeah.
I can't wait until you start doing that.
It's keeping me busy.
Wait until you start doing that.
Coaching?
Yeah.
Don't have the patience.
I was just about to say, he would absolutely no. He'd be like, I'm going to the nightclub until 3 o'clock in the morning. We'll see you later, lads.
I used to have to coach him all the time as it was. That was like the underage. Peter Stringer, pleasure to have you with us as well. And of course, Body Plan is the app if you want to get involved.
You need to be chill to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
This morning there'll be a band of patchy rain pushing southeastwards over Leinster. There'll be some drier spells for Ulster as the patchy rain clears, but cloudy with patchy rain and scattered showers returning from late morning. It will be a wet start this afternoon with widespread rain and heavier falls developing over Munster and Leinster. The bulk of the rain will start to clear eastwards through the afternoon with widely drier conditions developing over Ulster and Connacht. Maximum temperatures this afternoon 16 to 19 degrees. And a largely wet night ahead tonight. tonight with rain over much of Munster and Leinster, turning drier over Connacht and Ulster with a mostly cloudy sky initially, but clearer skies will develop around midnight. Lows tonight of 8 to 11 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
Fáilte Rasha Corda. Now, earlier on, she got us up to speed on all the latest skincare news, and now Jennifer Rock is back to impart some more beauty wisdom.
Absolutely. She was glazing her faces, talking about armpits. There was loads going on, but you have been sending in your
Top
questions.
to toe, baby.
And that's what you talk about. And we're going to go through as many of them as possible. The first one here is from Lisa. Thank you for the message, Lisa. She's wondering if she should be investing in anti-aging products at the age of 40. Yes.
So I think, look, the reality is from a skin perspective, 25 onwards is when our natural reservoir of collagen elastin, which are kind of youth peptides, if you will, they give the kind of buoyancy and the kind of firmness to the skin. They go on a slight decline from 25 onwards. So for 40, yes, absolutely, you can bring it in. I know this particular person, Lisa, thanks for your question, is using an SPF. So that is brilliant. That is the most anti-aging thing you can do. But in addition to that, I actually quite like an oil. Like I don't know what weather it is outside right now, right, to be fair, but definitely it's important. Yeah. You don't know what to wear. So, but in terms of skin, definitely bring in an oil is gold. So this is an Irish brand. This is the brand called Nutri. It's affordable. You need the smallest amount. They describe it like an elixir of youth. So if, as Lisa is asking about something that's anti-aging, this is one to consider. So what's in it? Honestly, there's a plethora of really proven, clinically proven anti-aging oils like argan oil, chia, etc. But there's also one of my go-tos, lavender. So lavender is extremely anti-aging. It's antibacterial as well.
Anti-aging?
Yeah, really anti-aging. It's actually beautiful, and put it on sidebar. It's a beautiful ingredient to put onto a burn. It's extremely regenerative. Anything that's regenerative is usually anti-aging. There's rose, geranium, smell it, bergamot.
I can smell the geranium.
Isn't it divine?
Oh, where do you want? When do you want to put this on in your routine?
Back to our skin glazing. So essentially, you put it on last thing at night before you go to bed. So essentially, you kind of cocoon the skin with anything else that you've applied on underneath. But really is anti-aging, beautiful addition to the skincare regime, and it's lovely and aromatic. So it's a nice way to segue you're in before we might up you again to slightly retinols and things like that. This is a nice stepping stone in.
That's stunning. I love
and there's vitamin
that.
C, really beautiful clarity on it as well. Feel quite bright.
Maggie has also been in touch, and she is very conscious of the skin on her neck. She says she is 58 years old, but has the neck of a 90-year-old. I doubt that, Maggie. But any suggestions for her?
So Maggie wants things that are neck cream. So you'll always notice with a neck cream product that it's quite small and petite because you actually don't need an awful lot of product. So if you think about it, the neck different to the face, it's as exposed to UV rays, but a lot of us just wash our face and not our neck. So that's why I'm always saying, and my mom always watches this segment, so I'm gonna have to apologise now, but I always say nipples up, because when we're trying to look after our body, it should obviously be top to toe, right? But let's be realistic. From an anti-aging perspective, we tend to be conscious of the collarbone up. So when we're talking to Maggie, I suppose the reality is that we're trying to think about ingredients like peptides, amino acids. They really help to regenerate your skin's natural collagen elastin, and that's what this product is. So it says Pry, I would pronounce it slightly differently. It's affordable in terms of neck cream products. It's really affordable. Smaller bottle than your typical face product, because again, it's literally just been put from the jawbone to the collarbone and in between. Within 2 weeks, the studies will show that your skin will look firmer, tauter, tighter, and that's exactly what you want in this area. But I have to ask you, I can't leave it out. You need to apply SPF from the nipple area up, because we usually look at all our collar lines today. Like there's some part of our kind of neck area on show, so that's definitely important. And upwards and outwards motions is always the key with a neck product. But that's a brand that's growing a lot of momentum. It's around for decades, but growing in popularity.
And Maggie, you're just not alone, because I just know it's something that myself and my friends have really started to notice and started to chat about, and we're just like, sorry, what's going on here? And there's a reason Nora Ephron wrote a book about it.
As well is a large part. So for anyone that's in their 30s now, so usually 40 others when we notice it. So we're all kind of bent in, looking at our phones.
I'm sitting up like this now.
Yes, do not neglect the neck. That's what they say.
Mary's neck, she's suffering with painfully sore skin and says that she has to apply moisturiser dozens of times a day, but it will usually wear off, and is looking for help on what to do.
So, Mary, I suppose because the word painful is there, I definitely would encourage you to speak to your local GP or go to a doctor, because when it kind of verges past that aesthetic realm, a facialist like myself should be careful what we comment on. So definitely do talk to your GP. In terms of typical dryness, which is set to come in the next weeks and months, Clarins have a relative new product to market. It's their multi-active day cream for dry skin. Again, affordable. Feel this, guys. This is like a little hug in a tub. It's beautiful for dry skin. It's a really rich cream within it. You've got your hyaluronic in there. There's lots of different plant extracts, but when you Miriam's trying to get a feel of it there now. But again, the ingredients within it, there's particular antioxidant in there, which I'm quite impressed with. So it's called a teasel extract 40. So can you feel it? Doesn't it feel? Yes. So you can imagine. So with Mary, if her skin is painful, do, as I said, get the medical advice. But if you feel like your skin is just tired and it's so taut to the touch, then from a dryness skin perspective, this is ideal. Actually helps with stressed skin and inflamed skin as well. So it's an all-rounder for this kind of environmental time of the year.
And again, a small amount would probably go a long way.
Really long way.
Spritz your face.
We're in Florida. Spritz your face first, put that on, and away you go.
So Gwen is wondering if there's a huge difference between a moisturiser and a day cream, as her moisturiser just isn't cutting it for her anymore, and friends have suggested she's trying out a day cream. She's wondering what you would suggest.
So it's a good question. So a day cream is typically a moisturiser. Usually the word moisturiser and cream are interchanged. So really what she's probably looking for is something that's quite hydrating. So if she feels it's not what she's using isn't cutting the mustard, as they say, then something like your Dr. Hauschka, it's an apricot day cream, relatively new to market. Why I like this is that it gives your skin that dewiness. So it does take a little bit of time for that true dryness to subside, but if you want to look and feel brighter in yourself, there's ingredients in there like your cereal extract activates, there's hyaluronic in there, there's apricot and avocado. So those three together, really calming, beautiful for very sensitive and non-irritating on the skin. One to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's years of research behind Dr. Hauschka as well. Hauschka. We have received so many messages about rosacea. So we're going to try to... So first of all, what is rosacea and what would you recommend as a first step in the treatment?
So rosacea is often misdiagnosed, and this is the power of Google insofar as that we can often kind of decide that we have something ourselves. Rosacea is often confused with redness, broken capillaries, sensitivity. So I would, to be honest, have a consultant understand truly if it is rosacea first and foremost. If it's rosacea, it's actually a medical condition. It's not aesthetic. How do you know you have it? Typically, it manifests around the nose or the cheek area. We call it the butterfly effect, and it kind of comes and goes if you're having spicy food or you're stimulated. So it's internal as well as external, but it's a state of redness. There's 4 subtypes, and it is medical. It can at times warrant medical attention and medication, and that's okay. However, there are brands like this one, for example, Image Skincare, and many brands, but Image particularly, the founder had rosacea, and she really struggled to find a product that she could use alongside the medicine, and so, or in lieu of, depending on what her particular regime was. Okay. So with the Vital C, it's a phenomenal vitamin C ingredient.
Sorry, my chair just lowered there for no reason. I didn't even press anything, I just went down.
She just saw her go. So she's so interested the second she got
thanks for it. Thanks, that's fine.
I'm actually the same height as me, guys. Thanks a million. So Image, this is it's an amazing water-soluble form of vitamin C. Basically, it's a new technology of vitamin C, but the whole range, the whole brand Image was created because of rosacea and redness and vitamin C, and that's what is really cooling, hydrating, see a difference quite quickly.
Fantastic. And as always, you will be talking on Instagram afterwards about all of these things, and you can always send in your messages 0896 111 111 for Jennifer, because we'll do another Q&A in the next couple of months as well. Jennifer Rockskinner,
thanks Jennifer. Thank you.
Coming up next, we're going to stay just low to the ground. We'll talk to you in a while. We're talking showbiz.
See you in a bit.
Second. Bye. Very low. Welcome back from the latest on Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner's marriage breakup to Maura Higgins' acting debut. There's been lots happening in the world of showbiz this week.
Yes, and Goss.ie's Ali Ryan is here to give us a lowdown on the biggest stories making the headlines. Hello, Ali.
Morning.
Hello. How are you?
It's lovely to have you here. We're going to start with the news last week that Danny Masterson, most people will know from That 70s Show, hugely successful show. He was convicted in a court of law in LA for abusing, for raping 2 women. There was 3 charges against him. But Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher have been dragged into this.
Yeah. So it's worth saying, first of all, it's one of the, I suppose, strongest convictions we've seen since the Me Too era. So it should be such amazing, positive news that finally we're starting to see, especially like top-tier celebrities, actually be jailed for the crimes that they've been committing. So it's a very strange situation, but obviously everybody will know Danny Masterson from That 70s Show, which is where Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher kind of had their rise to fame as well. So basically letters were published after the trial from Ashton and Mila, basically pleading to the judge. They're saying it was to ask for more lenient sentencing, because I think a lot of people knew during the trial he was going to get probably the maximum sentence. It's worth noting he did not speak during the trial, and his team didn't call any witnesses during the trial whatsoever, so he didn't even care to give a defence, to be honest. And so 50 people actually wrote to the judge with character references. And Ashton and Mila's were just very shocking, because if any of you guys watching kind of follow them, they're both seen as big advocates. You know, Ashton in particular, they own a company together that kind of fights to stop trafficking. And they're really outspoken on really big issues. You might remember during COVID and everything, and the Ukrainian war, like, you know, they've been very good. So this is just very disappointing. And Emila's in particular, I mean, she said that he was a big brother to her and that he was a role model. But she literally just starred in a movie recently called Luckiest Girl Alive, where she plays a rape victim. I've seen it myself. And there was a lot of controversy at the time that the rape scene was way too long. Like, she's had to discuss this for a long time. And she just kept talking about how amazing he was. Ashton called him a role model. The two of them wrote in their letters that he basically pushed them away from a world of drugs when they were in their teens. I'm sorry, like, boo-hoo, someone didn't let you do drugs. That's normal.
And of course, he's been accused of using drugs on his victims. I think in this country, we all know that there are certainly letters have been written all the time for people. We've seen it in court. We've seen parish priests do this. It's not something that it happens everywhere. But after they were released, Ashton and Mila did release then this video on Twitter. Let's take a look.
We are aware of the pain that has been caused by the character letters that we wrote on behalf of Danny Masterson.
We support victims. We have done this historically through our work and will continue to do so in the future.
A couple months ago, Danny's family reached out to us and they asked us to write character letters to represent the person that we knew for 25 years so that the judge could take that into full consideration relative to the sentencing.
The letters were not written to question the legitimacy of the judicial system or the validity of the jury's ruling.
Like, I get it when you're friends with someone for that long. I do understand they felt the need to write a character letter, but they don't even actually apologise to the victims in this. They apologise to people being upset by what they said, which is, I think, why everyone's very disappointed. You know, take that moment to be like, we shouldn't have done it, we're so sorry to you, but there's none of that. And there's a lot of questions now over, like, Scientology, their involvement in that. It came up in the trial very prominently that, you know, Danny was very high up in Scientology. All of the victims claimed that they told people high up and they were told, like, you weren't raped. They kind of were shushed. So now there's conversations where Ashton and Mila in Scientology. No one really knows the full details, but there's something not right about the situation. And I think given they call themselves and show themselves as such advocates, this entire situation is bizarre. I don't know how they're going to come back from it.
Yeah, and let's be honest, at the centre of this are people who have been victims of sexual assault. So that's one PR sort of disaster. The other PR disaster that has been going on is Joe Jonas basically calling Sophie, his ex-wife, a crap mother, and it has backfired in his
And a party girl. This is a controversy we love. We're happy about this controversy. Yeah, so last week when we were chatting about it, you were even saying, like, the rhetoric was so sexist. You know, like, she goes out, she hasn't been around. It's been brilliant seeing how the public have reacted because everyone is just calling BS on it. You know, there was pictures of Joe out with his kids. You know, we've literally never seen a photo of him with his children in the last couple of years by himself. It was Backgrid, they're a paparazzi company known for working with celebrities. So people are seeing through it, which is really interesting to see. Everyone seems to be on Sophie's side. Like, some tweets went up, they were so funny, like with pretend quotes, like she hides the batteries, she stands in front of him at gigs, you know.
No, I have things too high up in the press.
Yeah, it was so good.
Right,
Now, I will say he's playing it well, as in it looks like it's not him, because on stage, like he said the other day, don't believe what's going around, having a really tough week. He changed the lyrics of a song to kind of support Sophie. So he's coming across very angelic, but someone's leaking those quotes, and it's definitely from that side.
Yeah. What I think is so funny about this is that it does appear that he's been leaking these, like, stories about her being a bad mother. She doesn't seem to have, like, said anything, leaked anything, and she is still coming off like the coolest cat in all of this.
And the thing as well, like, in the documents filed for the divorce, he filed for divorce. He's asking for 50-50 custody. If there really was some serious issue or substance abuse or something, I highly highly doubt he wouldn't be fighting for custody on his own. But it's so funny because one of the rumours last week was that the divorce came because of footage on their Ring doorbell. And I'm like, now everyone's like, what's on the Ring? And there's very funny tweets going around at that as well. So I don't know. I feel like maybe the Jonas brand is so clean and angelic. Maybe they don't want people to think it just was him. Maybe they just didn't get on anymore. It could be that simple.
And very quickly, from people who don't get on in any way, shape or form, everyone from Love Island. Maura Higgins is filming a film in Belfast?
Yes, I'm loving Maura's new kind of career trajectory. So obviously she's been on the USA Love Island as a host for the social media. Now she's filming a comedy movie in Belfast called The Spin, I want to say. Yes. And she's actually very good at accents. I don't know if you've ever seen her on her social media taking off accents. She's brilliant. So I'm very interested to see if she's going to have a Northern Irish accent. But delighted for her. I think she's going to be hilarious in it.
I'll be trying to see that. Can you do a Northern Irish accent there, Tommy? We'll get you to watch her thing there.
No.
Anyone from Goss.ie, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. That's all from us today. Coming up in tomorrow's Ireland AM. Alan will be live from Malta, lads. He's on his holiday, so we'll be chatting to him then. Yeah.
At the Euro Pride, yes. Have a lovely day. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Bye.